Hi guys, how you doing? Happy Wednesday. It is March the 5th, 2025. It's 7:15 p.m. I'll tell you a little story here. When I was a little guy, about 7 years old, our family lived up in the mountains in Colorado, north of Boulder and kind of northwest of Lyons, Colorado. We didn't have any TV reception. We lived in kind of in a valley. Actually, it was called Peaceful Valley. And so we could get radio stations, some. We really couldn't get any TV reception. And being a little guy and very curious and wanting to climb all over everything, it was a playground to me. There were rocks to climb, mountains to climb, trees to climb, things to get into, and that was fun. So I would go out in the daytime and get into adventures. I would do some things that weren't so good. I actually I wanted mail. I wasn't getting any mail. I didn't understand why a 7-year-old wasn't getting mail. So I would go and get some mail from neighbors and take it home. And then, of course, my parents would find it and they'd say, hey, where do we get this from? And I would be like, I don't know. Or maybe I would tell them. But eventually it was easily figured out because the person's name and address was on there. So I had to take the mail back, which was a good lesson for me. Don't steal other people's mail. Don't steal anything. But I was rewarded for making it right. There was a couple of old ladies, I think one especially, that when my mom helped me take the mail back, she was, she says, don't take mail. It's not nice, but thanks for bringing it back. And here's some cookies. That was pretty clever because what I did after that was I made sure and I asked her if I could bring her mail. And she was so happy about that because this lady was probably, up in age where it probably wasn't as easy for her to get to the mailbox, especially being up in the mountains. So this little 7-year-old kid would go get her mail and bring it to her. And of course, cookies. But, I would do stuff like climb rocks and climb on the shed. We had a wood shed. We had a coal shed. We had a bunch of sheds all connected together. And I would get up on there. I wasn't supposed to. I'd climb the trees. My mom and dad found out some of the things I did and told me, no, that's not a good idea. Don't do it. There's rock formations called scree. I think it's spelled SCREE, and it's basically loose rock that there's a whole bunch of it in a slide. It's like the rocks have broken up from the mountain and they start to come down, they fall, and it creates a rock field that is on a quite a severe slant. And some of the rocks are quite large, could be 6, 7, 8 feet in diameter, and some are very small. Depends on the section of the scree you're in. You could have some that are down to, 6 inches. But it's quite an adventure to climb as a 7-year-old. But it's dangerous, too, because that stuff will come loose. As you're climbing, it comes loose and starts to slide. And it can create a kind of an avalanche with rocks. So that was something I did here and there, and then I learned, don't do that. That's dangerous. It was an adventure. We also would get snow in the wintertime. We'd get quite a bit of snow. We'd make big snowmen. We had a big driveway that was gravel, and we'd have to shovel it. My dad did most of the shoveling, but, as a 7-year-old, I did try to shovel. And when you're trying to shovel the snow on sidewalk, that's one thing. Gravel is different because you pick up a lot of gravel with it, and that doesn't work out too good. You're throwing snow and gravel, and it ends up in the yard. And in the spring, then you got to pick all the gravel out of the yard. But we would make an igloo. I tried to make an igloo, and that worked out okay. You get the big pile of snow that you shoveled out of the driveway, and you get this, 5 foot, 6 foot pile, and it's maybe 7 feet long and maybe 6 feet wide, and it starts to pack down, and then you say, hey, let's build a tunnel in there. So you dig it out and you get a tunnel and you make yourself a little igloo. It was pretty cool. We used to do stuff. I remember one time my younger sister and I were outside in the daytime. Of course, usually outside in the daytime when you're playing. Most people, sometimes people play at night, but little kids not so much. We were outside and we had a sandbox. And I remember playing with my Tonka trucks. I had these big metal Tonka trucks, heavy duty. They don't build them like that anymore. These things could take a beating. I know, because I would beat them, and they were fun. But I would play with these Tonka trucks. My sister's sitting over there playing with her dolls and stuff, and we're out there having fun. And all of a sudden, it felt like and sounded like an earthquake or thunder like you've never heard. It was like, what the heck is that? And we kind of looked at each other. What is that? What's going on? Kind of looked around, and it rumbled for a while, and then it stopped. Wow, that was weird. And then we're playing, and like 2 minutes later, the same thing. Wow, it was scary. What the heck is that? I think by this time we both got up. What is that? The world's coming to an end. Something is crazy. It was loud, and it was shaking the ground. Disturbing. So, me being about 7, and my younger sister was about 5 at the time, we got up and hightailed it into the house, which was, probably 30 yards, 40 yards from where we were at. Go inside. What's going on? Tell our mom, hey, what's going on? And she's like, okay, don't worry. It's okay. They're blasting. Blasting? What do you mean? They got dynamite. They're blasting up the mountain ways because I don't know, for whatever reason, if it was a mine or if maybe there was a rock slide and they were trying to clear. I don't know what the reason was, but they were blasting. It went on for, I don't know, 10 minutes. There was probably at least 5, 6 of these blasts. That was scary and exciting too, Once you hear that and live through that, you're like, wow, that was cool. Nothing bad happened, at least not to us. So there was those things. We had a little creek that ran down through the back of our yard. Our property was probably only an acre and a half, something like that, and maybe 3/4 of an acre. But we had this little creek that would run through the back of the yard, and you could fish. I actually caught my first fish in that. And that's the only fish I ever caught in my whole life. I think it was like the first time I was fishing, my dad was teaching me how to fish, and I'm casting this out there, and then boom, I catch a fish. Got a fish. Woohoo, I got so excited. And then ever since then, I've never caught a fish again. I've fished dozens and dozens of times. I can't catch a fish. Why? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Maybe I need to go back up there to Peaceful Valley. So, but we had a good time. We'd go sledding, we'd have these plastic sleds that were roll up. They'd be a roll up toboggan. It was like a thick piece of plastic that was maybe an eighth of an inch thick. And it would roll up into a tube when you're carrying it, and had a handle. And then you'd unroll it, and it was like 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. And you'd sit on this piece of plastic and slide down the snow and go at 90 miles an hour until you hit something and flew off. And woo, that was a lot of fun. Then we got inner tubes, which I don't think we had inner tubes at the house, but I think a couple times we might have went with some other kids, and inner tubes would fly. Those would sail. Those were really dangerous. You could hit a tree going, 60, 70 miles an hour, and that's not good. But let's see. You could also, in Colorado, where you had lots of wind, not so much in the mountains, but up in the Table Mesa area and the mesas and stuff, you'd get 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts. We used to take our coat and flip it up over our head, hold the back of it up like that behind us, and jump up in the air when a wind gust would come, and it'd blow you back like 5, 6, 7 feet. And sometimes you'd land on your feet, sometimes you'd land on your back, but you flew, for a few seconds. It was fun. Let's see. I remember walking in the wind, And you'd have to be like walking, leaning forward like this because the wind was so strong. Yeah, so we had some good times. Yeah, we did. Let's see, what else? Bears. We had a bear more than once come to our property. And I remember one time my dad was taking out the trash. It was at night, it was dark. He went to go take the trash out to the garage because that's where the trash cans were. And as he got close to the garage, he says he remembers seeing a black snout of something coming out of the big garage door. And the inside of the garage is dark, of course. And sure enough, it's a bear. He backed up, of course, and gave it some room. But he also used to tell us that he would slick his hair back, see, and it was like nice and slicked back. He had black hair, and it was all slicked back. And it was like kind of like gel, right? And he used to tell us it was bear grease. We believed it. Well, I did, anyway, for a while. We thought he would go out and wrestle bears and squeeze the grease out of them and use that. Well, that's fun. Another thing, Porcupines. We had 2 dogs. One was a pretty good dog, which we had until I was a late teenager, boxer named Cinnamon. She was a sweet dog. We had another dog that was one of her pups, and it was a Labrador mix with the boxer. And that dog was not too smart. It was a black dog, a black lab, and it would chase the mailman, which the mailman would come in a mail truck, like a Jeep kind of thing or whatever. And he would drive and, put the mail in the box and keep on driving. Well, this dog would chase the truck and try to bite the tires of the truck. That's one thing. But what was really interesting was when Porcupine was around and the dogs both thought that was really neat, they decided to chase the porcupine. So they chased it. And they both came back with porcupine quills all in their face, of course. Cinnamon, the boxer, she allowed my dad to take the quills out. She didn't like it. It was painful, but she would let him. The other dog, Alpha, the black lab, she didn't like it. She didn't want to have anything to do with it. And she walked around with porcupine quills in her face for a while. Several days, maybe longer. Anyway, let's see. What else happened? Well, plenty of other things happened that were exciting. And maybe I will tell more stories. There will be part 2, 3. Who knows how many? Who knows? But I had lots of adventures as a child. And some were pretty mischievous. Some were just normal, boring stuff. But, in 1970, 72, when you got nothing to do, we listened to the radio in the mornings. I'll give you a sneak peek to the next one. And there was a show on. I don't remember the name of the show, but when we were getting ready for school in the mornings, that was a long bus ride, by the way, there was a show on that would always, the Lone Ranger, I don't know, look that up, the Lone Ranger and Tonto. But they would play this horn or whatever music in the morning, and it would be like, dun, dun, dun. It was the Lone Ranger and Tonto. Silly things like that. Well, there will probably be more stories. If you guys like this kind of stuff, or if you don't, I'm just talking to myself, and I don't mind. It's okay. Hey, y'all have a good one. Talk to you later. This is for Lisa and Carla.
With the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger.
You know what I'm talking about? We didn't get to the Tonto part, but you get the idea. See y'all later.